All right, welcome to CptsLogs, Podcast 9. I'm one of your hosts, Mark Nowak, here with Richard, the Jamaican Bacon.
Damn right, get that shit right.
It's just sizzling out in this Phoenix heat, man.
It's so hot as hell, dude. Goddamn.
Burning the fat off, whether you
Brutal.
like it or not. And we have a pretty special guest for you here today. Mainly because it's the season for it, and it's not Christmas. Boys, it's not Santa Claus here. Let's just say it's heating up.
Yeah.
And our guest is a fighter pilot of sorts, but a firefighter. So we have Andrew Harrington here.
Nice to be here. Thanks
How
for
do you
having
do?
me. Good.
What's going on, man?
It's good. Nice to be out of the heat.
Yeah, dude. How have you been?
Good. Just getting into the meat and potatoes of the season here coming. So about to be the busy time. I leave tomorrow for a contract period. I did some small stuff here and there in the beginning of the season, but tomorrow's the kind of where I head out for the season. So I'm glad I can make it on the show before I left.
Yeah, right on.
Cool, man. Well, welcome to our podcast. No, it's good. Like I said, we've been through all this previous podcasts with the aviation industry with these diverse routes. This is another platform it's very unique. You know, not many people really know about it. Not even me. So I'm very curious to learn about it and this to learn what Harrington does. Being a tanker pilot is, I guess, the best way to say it.
Yeah.
You know, so tanker pilot basically, you know, especially now in our, you know, in the summer in California and Arizona and all these other freaking states, you know, wildfires start coming up and whatnot.
Yeah. So the heat comes up, the humidity drops, you start getting, wind in there. So that's in the western United States, the summer months are the fire season.
Yeah. So let's talk. So stay on the podcast and we'll, you know, get some great insights from Harrington as we move forward here.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Apply heading 230, runway 27 left. Clear for takeoff. Turn right heading 060. Descend and maintain 5,000.
So Harrington and I actually went to UND,
We did. Yeah.
University of North Dakota, and we actually got our initial all the way up to our CFI together. You remember that? I think you were the very first one to get your shit done, and then we all dispersed and
Of
went
course I
doing our own
was
thing.
the first one.
So
Wait,
but-
I'm sorry. Wait, what portion of your flying did you guys meet?
I think. I mean, was it CFI? No.
no, it was middle of like instrument stuff. I think
Yeah.
that's when
Okay,
we actually met.
gotcha.
Because I remember you were a little bit ahead of me because I actually sat on an observing flight in the back
Yeah,
and watched you go shoot
with
old,
the big guy.
Oh boy.
yeah, with all the old in the stack.
Yeah,
And that was before I started, so you were ahead of me a little bit because I was just trying to see what it was like.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was when I think it was back when UND first got the glass,
Warriors.
the Warriors.
Yeah.
Oh, was it the Warriors?
Yeah.
Glass Warriors.
But they were the glass it was the 2430s with the Avidines, PFD and MFD.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember that. I remember that flight specifically. It was Brian.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I flew with Brian.
God, how
I
are you
think.
guys not overweight? No offense, but jeez, oh Pete.
Yeah, I remember that the very first flight with Brian. It was in the glass doing our instrument stuff, you know, trying to figure that shit out. But and then we got all this stuff done, and then you went. I think you never really cared about going to the airlines.
That was one of the driving points of what I do now.
You just didn't want to.
Yeah, no disrespect to the airlines, and I got plenty of airline buddies that love it, but it was just never something that I thought I would be too interested in.
Never at all. Like
No,
it was
not
even
ever.
when you were doing training, you never.
Nope.
Ah,
Never.
interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it? I'm curious.
I don't know, really, to be honest, because I've never done it, so I can't say anything too bad about it because I've
Yeah.
never done it, so I can't say. But it was just something that I don't know. It's weird. People ask me that.
Well,
all the
I
time.
get it though. Well, I get why, like you wouldn't want to go to the airline. Like I understand it because I'm in the airlines and it's in the shit.
I don't know if it's mostly. I think it's more the flying. I really like flying the plane, and that's all we do. You know, we fly an airliner, but we turn the flight director off, the autopilot off, and we hand fly everything that we do. So, I mean, I think that's where kind of where I'm sure you do it a lot in the airlines as well, but I don't know, more just hands-on, stuff like that.
Yeah, so let's get into that because I'm curious. So you left UND.
Yeah, so I did CFI. I did all the way. I stayed there, did all my CFI, II, MEI, and then I did the check airman for private, instrument, commercial, multi. The only thing that we didn't have examining authority, I think, was CFI. So I didn't do checks for CFIs, but I taught them.
Oh, okay.
So I was there for a long time.
Oh, how long?
Too long. I want to say 5 years, 4
Oh,
years.
wow.
Well, that's not flight instructing. I think I flight instructed for three and a half.
Oh, okay. Still, because I went to Transpac. When I was at Transpac, a year and a half because I was doing like 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
I really want to get out of there.
I know.
That was the main reason. I was like, man, these damn kids are gonna kill me. But I remember you were telling me when you were doing your CFI stuff, there's a guy you were like, I think he was doing like a recurrent or something like that. It was an older guy, and
that I had to go with.
You went up with him or something like that.
Yeah.
And you were teaching him some of the things that the maneuvers or whatever, and he wouldn't listen to you.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, whatever, dude. If you want to go do your own shit, go do your own shit.
Yeah, because I was like, I got a funny story about being young in the industry later, but yeah, they look at you, and I don't even know how old I was, young,
Yeah.
20s, and you got some guys like, you're going to tell me how to do this? I'm like, well, if you want me to sign your ticket, yeah. I mean, or you can get someone else that's older. I don't know what to tell you.
That's funny, dude. Yeah. And then
So, real quick before we move on, you can cut this out. I'm going to ask you this because before I forget. What was UND like when you left there? Was it as big as it is now?
It was just starting.
Yeah.
It was just starting. So we just got I was there for the first international contract with TransAsia, which was 25 students. And then right when I was leaving, I did a little bit of the EVA Air stuff. They had 2. But I mean, I think that the flight instructor core was still at 15, maybe 16.
Oh, wow.
And now it's who knows? Massive, I would imagine.
That's where I'll be going in the fall I'm finally going to do my CFI ticket.
Yeah.
Scared the shit out of me. But I'm hoping now they have in-house examiners.
They do.
Thank God.
They do.
yeah,
All
Rex.
right. Sorry.
You remember
Well,
Sidetrack us.
Well, I
Just
mean, Rex
curious.
did my CFI.
He did ours. It was just an interview. You remember what it was?
Well, I had to go fly. You had to go fly.
Oh, we flew. Yeah. Oh, yeah, the flew. But I mean, he didn't an oral. There wasn't any.
He beat me up kind of.
Dude, I remember you came out. I was there when you were doing it.
Because,
He beat me up,
but I'll
kind
tell
of.
you why.
He did.
Because
I remember I watched him. He came out and he was so bummed out. I was like, "What's going on?" He's like,
he didn't fail me, but
No.
he was like,
"Yeah."
buddy.
Because I think he was actually interviewing you. Like I think he planned to hire you.
But I mean, another reason behind that is I am notoriously just terrible at studying for orals.
Dude, it's so hard. Ugh.
I just did my my PIC type in the DC9 MD,
Yeah.
and yeah, I should have studied more for my oral.
Oh really?
I'm always like, I got it.
You
And
you have oral for that as well?
Every a check ride is really cookie cutter.
there you go.
Cootie
God.
cucker.
There you go.
It's all. I mean, you do one check ride, you've done all. It's all the same. Just a different plane.
Yeah, we had a
Sucks.
written,
That alone makes me want to quit the industry.
Yeah,
we had a written on
Yeah.
systems and then an oral mostly on memory items and
Yeah.
systems.
Memory item systems.
We have to
really.
we do a 121
Yeah.
type
Yeah.
ride
Yeah.
because we have to get the type rating.
Yeah. And then so you left UND and then you did your CFI stuff. So what did you do after that?
So then I went to a company that does, through a former flight instructor that we had, was the chief pilot at a company out of Safford, Arizona. And what they do is called Air Attack. And they're pretty much the forward air traffic control that controls the FTA, which is the fire traffic area for the tankers and the helicopters and everything. And so I was in a turbine commander.
Right. Yeah.
And you're 1,500 feet above the action, and in the right seat is a qualified ground firefighter.
Oh, really?
And so he's calling all the shots from the air, and you're flying him around.
Oh, wow.
So I got into the fire industry that
So
way.
is he a pilot?
No.
You just go ahead.
Go ahead and finish your question.
That's all I had. Is he a pilot?
No. Some of
Oh.
them have their private that
Oh,
they
okay.
got in 1965 that, they.
It made him want to jump and be like, "Oh, I'll take that job." So that was local here in Arizona?
Well, the company was based out of Safford, but it was the same thing as what I do now. We've chased the fires all over the United States.
And how many hours did it take before you could apply for something like that?
So you needed 135 min, so it was like 1,500, and then they wanted a certain amount of multi, and they wanted some mountainous flying too because
Sure,
they're
of
in it a
course.
lot. But you get that in Arizona, especially going up north. You can log that stuff. But yeah, like 135 minimums,
Okay.
pretty much, because that's what they operate under is 135.
Oh, okay.
How'd that first gig pay?
In the beginning, it was okay. It was better than flight instructing.
Okay, fair enough.
And then after that, we got a new owner, and it was real good.
Yeah, excellent. Usually the new owner thing comes with the sob story.
So they stopped. Oh, the
new
initial one. So the initial company you went with, it was private. All that stuff was owned by.
It was owned by just a different person. They sold it to someone else who bought it, and then that
okay.
guy was like, "Hey, these guys are making us money." And the chief pilot at the time was like, "Yeah, we need to pay these guys more money if you want them to stick around."
Yeah.
And that's when the airlines were booming.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Hey, if you want these guys to stick around, they need more money." And so you made good money, but you were gone a lot, like half the year, almost straight, almost like a deployment.
Dang.
Chasing the fires.
Yeah, so you would get, you'd be at just kind of what I do now, but you could start in Arizona and end up in Montana. You don't know where it's going to be. So
Yeah.
it was fun though. Great segue to get into what I do now.
Oh, so did you just apply for that, or you knew somebody and they brought you in? Is that
I
what it is?
had the 1,500 hours, and that's kind of where I was like, all right, I have 1,500 hours, and I had a ton of multi-time because I did all MEI and MEI checkouts and stuff. So I had all the multi-time and instrument time. I mean, at that time, I think I had ATP minimums, and so I was like, I need to make a decision what I want to do. And so I knew a guy that worked there. You guys both know him, the guy that you did your instrument flight with that we were just talking about.
Big guy.
The big guy?
He was the chief pilot there. So
Oh.
yeah, I shot him an email, and he's like, well,
So how was that? How was that having him as the chief pilot?
he was good. To be
I
honest.
believe it. I believe it.
He's a hell of a pilot.
Yeah.
so.
And as a
Very
and
intelligent.
as a manager, I mean, honestly, he was spot on.
Yeah, man.
So it was cool. Yeah, I shot him an email, and he's like, well, we'll see. And there was kickback about my age.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's another thing. How old are you? Do you mind? Yeah, you probably.
I just turned 33.
Oh, I'm 34. Yeah.
But that was 10 years ago.
Oh, Oh, okay.
Or 8 or whatever, So I was
Yeah.
in my mid-20s.
Yeah.
And I looked like a little kid, It was like 30 pounds less than this. And
Well, at least unlike Sea Dog, you don't anymore.
Cool, man. Cool. So if I'm curious, I know you probably explained this. So they're the one that the company you're working for. They're the one that kind of almost like a dispatcher when it comes to how they trying to figure out where the fire is going to be at and figuring out.
The government does all that.
Oh,
so
the
we're
government does that,
government
okay.
contracted.
Okay.
That was going to
okay.
be one of my next questions.
Got you.
Who
Yeah.
pays you guys?
Yep, the government, your money, my money, taxpayer.
Fair enough, man. Save our crap. Yeah.
And they call all the shots. And so they have it's broken down to different geographical locations called GACs. And, there's a Southwest and Montana, North, all this stuff, different regions. And then it goes up to the top. And then they're the ones that have the big chessboard. And depending on resources and need, they kind of move all the chess pieces around. So we put our bag in the plane every day because we could be flying a fire over here, on up north in Arizona, and we just do our drop when they're saying, "Hey, go reload in Montana. You're up there." So you never know where you're gonna be.
Yeah. So let's okay, interesting. So like the company you work for now, like what is the current one you're with now?
Erickson Aero Tanker,
Erickson Aero Tanker.
Mhm.
Okay.
Where are they based out of?
Madras, Oregon,
Okay.
and then they have a sister company that kind of picked them up along the way called Aero Air, and they do all sorts of stuff. They do charter, they do air med, they do
Oh.
organ transport and all
Wow.
that stuff.
Wow.
And that headquarters is in Hillsboro, right outside of Portland. Madras is like Central Oregon, by Redmond or Bend.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. So what was the interview process like for that kind of
So
system?
the interview process, we always make fun of this stuff in the tanker industry. It's pretty much having a beer with
Oh, really?
someone that works there.
Oh,
It-
dude, I'll fit in awesome.
It's not like a formal interview. It's internal recommendations only.
It has to be with that kind of system, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and then maybe like I got a phone call from the director of, well, first the chief pilot called me, and we talked on the phone. It was in the middle of fire season, so I was busy. We talked on the phone for a good hour, and then the director of operations, once I got the go ahead from the chief pilot, gave me a phone call, and they kind of talked to some of the references that I listed on my resume, and they said, well, we'll give you a call in a couple months and 3 months later, I had an offer letter.
Nice.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
And it,
so it's real small. I mean, the references that I got were people that were in the tanker industry
Right.
before
right.
and that knew these guys, and so it was all just, it's very word of mouth, in-house kind of deal.
Okay.
But the air attack position is a great way to do it because they knew that I knew the industry, I knew fire to a certain extent. I knew what being on the road was like. I knew what being on tanker bases was like. So they look at that kind of stuff a lot too. So that's why the interview process probably was a little bit shorter than if you were just coming off the street like, hey, I want to fly tankers.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you got the letter. Was it immediately you went to training or?
No, I still had. So I think I got the letter in December, and then in February is when we went to sim. So I had some time off.
Oh, okay.
A couple months.
Months. Okay. How was the training? And what aircraft were you flying, by the way?
So it's the DC-9 MD-87.
Okay. Where'd you go for training?
Our first initial training, we went to Pan Am in Miami.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah.
It's just an old school sim.
Yeah, they have like there's a 7.6 out there that's like old school and shit, and well, that's like the vintage Pan Am shit, dude, like the old school real
they
shit.
They have those in like random places. So I was over at Loft Aviation in Carlsbad, California, and they do all citation training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they have one sim there. It's old as crap, and it's for a what's a tri-tail, or not? It's a tri. It's not the DC-10 or an
Probably
MD-11.
727.
No. It's like the DC-10, but it's a different model.
MD-11.
No. L-1011.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
that's old.
Yeah, so they
That's
have a
like
sim for
L10.
that, and they're like, they told me what company owned it, and they're like, yeah, they come in here once a year.
It's the guys that dropped the rockets out of Mojave.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
There's a big ass rocket strapped to the bottom of it, and they.
For what
so
reason?
it has to be those guys. They fucking shoot it to space, man.
It might be, actually. It was something along those lines, like that kind
There's a
of
documentary
weirdness.
on it.
You see
can
how
watch
oblivious
it.
I am to these things. That is like all this crap that goes on. You're like, the fuck?
Yeah, they're like, we take care of their sim. They come in once a year. We don't touch it. They use it. And I'm like, I would kill to see inside that
was
bad boy.
It's really hard to find MD sims anymore. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, American got rid of all those. Yeah, nobody flies them anymore.
So
It's
we use
more-
Deltas now
Oh, really?
in Atlanta, and they were super happy to have us because
Nobody uses it. Nobody really.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that place is great, state of the art.
Because Delta got rid of all their. Like they're done with all that now, right? All they fly is the Airbus and the.
They have the 717, which is the same type rating
Oh,
as
yeah,
a
that's right.
DC-9.
Yeah.
Is
which
that
is
4
kinda
engines?
No, it's like it looks like an MD-87, but it's just kind of upgraded with some different engines and
Yeah.
upgraded avionics.
Yep. Mm.
That's not tri, right?
No,
Mm-mm.
Okay.
but
Yeah.
it's the same type as a DC-9.
Mhm.
So DC-9
Okay.
covers like 6 different airplanes.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like the 7.6 and it's just a 7.6, 7.5, same
Yeah.
type rating. Yeah. So, yeah. Interesting. How was that training? I mean, it's gonna be a complicated airplane too. Because I remember.
It's old school, man.
Yeah, when we
I
were.
was gonna say, does it have, what are the avionics?
Well, that's the thing. When I was at Envoy and everybody was getting ready to flow to American because American had those planes back in the days. It was an old school plane. Nobody was like, "Fuck, we don't want to fucking get, we don't wanna fucking go fight that fucking plane, man." Because that's a real flying.
Yeah.
It's not, hey, let's turn the autopilot on kind of shit. You gotta learn that shit.
It has Autoland,
Does it? I believe it.
surprisingly.
Oh, the trim? No, just kidding.
So
But
how
I
was
mean,
it?
The training's cool. It was my first. So I went from a turbo commander, which is like twin turboprop. Max takeoff weight is like 12. It's 10 325. I don't know why I
wow.
remember those numbers, but so it's tiny. And I'm jumping into an MD-87. So the training was a big leap. It's first generation
Yeah.
EFIS. So it's
Yeah,
kind of a glass cockpit, kind of.
yeah. I get what you're saying.
But training was cool, man. I was, funny story. I was with another guy, and they were like, "All right, let's get the session started. Talk to ground, get pushed back from the gate." I'm like, "Dude, I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
I've never done it before."
yeah.
They're used to getting guys that
Who's sorry, the reason you said I'm asking this, who's doing the training? Is it like contracted out to?
well, when we do our type rides and all our recurrent, it's just Delta guys.
That's why they're saying that shit to you.
Yeah, well, you have to do an airline check ride.
Oh shit. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so you have
okay.
you have to get pushed back from the gate. You have to do all that stuff,
Okay, gotcha. All
and
right.
you have to do an emergency egress with the people and all that stuff.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, because it's an airline.
It's all it's in the type, the 21 types. You got to do all that stuff. It's within the regs.
Yeah, we
Nice.
don't have any passengers.
Brace,
Yeah.
brace, brace. There's nobody back there.
But you have to do it, and so it was cool for me because I've never done that stuff before.
Yeah, cool,
So,
man.
Yeah, and all the emergencies and Yeah, it was a good time.
De-ice and all that stuff. You had to do all that stuff too.
We didn't do the de-ice stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, de-ice is. Yeah, just go a little lower. Get in the flames.
Yeah. So basically, profiles, memory items.
And that's where UND came in also, man.
Yeah.
Profiles, memory items, call-outs,
Call-outs, yeah.
checklists. That's where UND, it just kind of went right back to me. I'm like, oh,
That's
man,
your-
I remember this stuff.
That's your airline training right there.
Yeah.
You get that done if you can do those
And
four
I'll tell
things.
you what, UND's got to start paying us. Everybody way out on the podcast. We all.
Or you just branch out on the people you call on here. It's all UND alum.
Well, that's
That's true.
because all the good people come from UND.
Yeah.
They do a good job. They
Yeah.
do.
Absolutely.
My sim partner came from a completely different background and way more experience than I have just as flying, but first kind of time doing an airline type like this.
Yeah.
And he was, in the beginning, he was way behind just because he didn't have that kind of background that I had doing all that call outs and checklists and stuff. So I was like, I felt good. I remember calling Cam and being like, dude, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah. When I went to, it's funny, I have the exact same story. When I went to Envoy, my first jet was an Embraer 145
Mm-hmm.
as an FO, and we went there, and I felt like nobody would tell us what we need to study for. Like, we didn't know what, like, those four things, the call-outs, the profiles, like, it took me like 3 months to figure out, like, what they are. But anyways, the point I was trying to make is that I had another partner, and he was also an FO. And, he was having a very, very hard time, like, figuring out, like, what the profile. So I remember we were going down a runway, we were like, 80 knots. And it's like, he looked at me and go, why are we saying 80 knots?
Check.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah, you're definitely not going to make it. And he didn't make it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was his background?
He flew helicopter. Very nice guy.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. But same thing, UND, we knew what we were saying while we were saying it. So, so you do like V1 cuts and stuff like that
Oh,
on
yeah.
the MD?
Yeah.
How is that on the,
It's not too bad because it's almost centerline thrust.
okay,
you
gotcha.
know, where they're not hanging off the wing. I mean, it's still a V1 cut. You still have to compensate
All
for it
that
and
stuff, yeah.
stuff. But yeah, I mean, you do the same check ride as you would, I'm sure you do. It's like almost 0-0 viz, and you do V1 cuts, and you
Yeah.
have to bring it around and
Mm-hmm.
coupled approach, hand flown approach, circle to lands, all that stuff.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Cool, man. Cool. All right. So for the airline, after our sim, 'cause this is where it's going to get interesting. I'm going to start asking this interesting stuff I'm fascinated about. All right, we all know about his background now. He's a UND, CFI. He got this job. He's a tanker pilot. But there's some fascinating shit coming in here.
We'll see.
It is, man. So, an airline pilot, once you're done with this sim, you go what's called IOE.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you guys do?
No.
Okay. So what do you do, and what the hell? How is it? Because obviously, Delta can't train you to go fucking dump.
No.
Yeah, I know. That was good.
You know.
I was upset because I was like, I wanted to ask him that question with
Yeah.
the training stuff.
Yeah, absolutely,
Keep
man.
going,
Yeah.
man.
So what happens after that? After you're done with your sim?
So you're going to go almost 100% of the time you're going to be a co-pilot
yeah.
the first couple seasons. And during that time, you're just doing co-pilot duties. You're helping out as much as you can.
Like live flights.
Mm-hmm.
So you immediately go to the sim to. Well, yeah, obviously because it's IOE. Okay, got you.
Yeah. So that's our IOE.
Yeah.
We do spring training where we have to do like 3 drops with the Forest Service, and you have to get carded by the Forest Service. You have to do just a ride with them as a co-pilot.
Carded.
Yeah. So the Forest Service, once you get your type rating, and you have all your time and all that stuff, you still have to do another check ride. That's what pilots
Oh,
make
really?
about, right?
Yeah.
So the Forest Service sends out a liaison, and they sit in the jump seat and they go fly with you, and they observe you being a co-pilot. Once you do that, you get your Forest Service co-pilot card saying, here, you can go out and fly on fires now as a
Oh.
co-pilot.
Yeah, as a
Only.
co-pilot. Yeah.
And so, yeah, so the first couple seasons, you're just sitting right seat. You're doing stuff that normal co-pilots would do. You're making radio
Really?
calls. You're swinging the gear. You're doing flaps.
Okay.
And you're just learning. You're
Yeah.
learning how to do stuff. And all the captains we have are good. And so they're teaching you. And so you're sitting in the right seat. And then after a while, you start trading legs, flying to and from the fire. You still can't drop on the fire yet. But you can fly all the way into the FTA fire traffic
What do you mean?
area
So you can't drop on the fire?
as a co-pilot yet. Only the captain can pull the trigger.
Oh,
And
okay.
go down low. And
Mm-hmm. Until you...
So he's flying.
So, like, let's say it's my leg. I would
Yeah.
take off from the airport. I'd fly to the fire.
Mhm.
I'd orbit. If there was a lead plane in front of us, I'd get behind the lead plane. And then as soon as we went, like, live, he would take over, drop down, drop the retardant, come back up, hand the airplane over to me, and then I'd fly back if it was my leg.
Oh.
And so you're doing that for the first couple of years, just learning.
So how does like let's talk about like the pre planning stuff, because I go out, especially even 135. Talk about it in that way, they go out, they get the weather,
Yep.
The weight and balance, the passengers and all that stuff. So obviously none of that stuff really applies. Well, most of it still does apply to you. So assuming somebody has to get the weather, somebody has to say, hey, the fire is over here, and figure out what route you're gonna fly to coordinate it. Like, how does that stuff work? How do you figure that out?
So kind of a normal day is you show up at the tanker base, and there's tanker bases throughout the whole western United States. So in Arizona,
tanker bases. Okay.
In Arizona, there's one at Gateway, Prescott, and Winslow, and so those are just places that are at an airport that can fill up the retardant.
Oh, okay.
And so there's a ton in California, obviously, because it's huge and it's always on fire. There's tons in
In more ways than one.
yeah.
I shouldn't be laughing at that.
It's always on fire. There's Colorado, Utah, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, name it. There's tanker bases strategically placed around these geographical locations. So let's say we're at Gateway Tanker Base, and I show up in the morning, usually at 9. If there's not an ongoing fire, we'll go out. Our crew chief, which is our mechanic that flies with us, we'll go out, do the walk around. We'll usually fire up the APU, do first flight of the day stuff, just like the airlines.
Yeah.
And then if there's not an active fire going, we'll shut it down, and we'll usually go to like a 9:30 a.m. brief, and they talk about the weather and all stuff. But it's all the stuff you looked at as a pilot in the morning, anyways. And then if there's nothing going on that day, man, you get the recliner out and fire up Netflix.
Just like a firefighter.
Yeah, it's just like being at a station, a city fire station. Yeah, it's the same thing. And
chili and foosball.
Yeah, man, working out.
And they're always cooking food and working
food,
out.
Yeah, man. And then, I've seen it.
And then either if you're in California, it'll be on a loudspeaker. But in most of the places, someone will just come in and be like, "Hey, Tanker 103, you got a dispatch." So you're like, "Shit!" Pack up your iPad and get everything going and run out to the plane, get it fired up, and they'll give you a run sheet, what we call it, and it's got usually the fire name, the coordinates of the fire, and then the frequencies who you're going to talk to on the fire.
Yeah.
And man, while you're doing that, plugging stuff in the FMS or iPad, they're loading up the retardant, and you're looking at weather real quick, see if there's any thunderstorms, and you're going.
So the retardant's like waiting for fuel, basically. Somebody's pumping that sucker, you're just waiting for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm assuming there's like a gauge that said, okay, we have this amount of and what it is.
It's 3. Yeah. So our plane could take 3,000 gallons no matter where we go. So it's like 27,000 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Some of the other airplanes for different vendors are limited on weight depending on like density, altitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're running out of like Prescott or something.
Yeah.
But the MD, we can take a full load anywhere. Yeah.
Wow,
So then
okay.
we get loaded up. They tell us we're loaded, and we have everything plugged in, and then we just cruise out.
Cool, man. And do you what do you wear? You wear like a fire retardant?
Yeah, we have to wear a Nomex flight suit.
Nomex flight suit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool, man. So then, so you're the one that plugs in all the. So you're the first officer. You're a new first officer. Are you the one plugging in all the coordinates, or doing all that, whatever? Do you guys do flows and stuff like that?
Yeah. So we do a flow and back it up with a checklist. So we run the cockpit just like almost like an airline.
Airline, okay.
Yeah. So if you're the new FO, you're plugging it all in and doing all that stuff. And
oh, cool.
Yeah.
So do you and clearance and stuff like that? Like you get like obviously is in because you're going to TFR areas. Like how does that work?
Well, so the controlling person of that TFR is the job I used to do, which was the air attack.
Okay, got you.
So you're contacting him, and he's giving you permission in.
Okay.
But yeah, so like we talked to, if the fire is in a controlled airspace, obviously, we'll have to talk to him. But yeah, it's just if you're in a class Charlie or Bravo, same thing. You get on with clearance.
Same thing, yeah.
But we're usually VFR everywhere we go.
Got you. TFRs, we'll get into what TFR is in because I put it on the podcast. What is a TFR anyway? I don't fucking remember.
There's tons of them in Arizona right now.
Yeah,
so it'd be a good thing to talk about.
So right now,
not too far east.
No, big one.
Have you fought that fire at all?
I have not been on the Telegraph, but the plane that I'm going to get on contract with has flown it all day today.
Really?
And it just so happens that that's the one I'm going on. So it's kind of a crapshoot on which planes we go on. They could be anywhere. We have 2 planes in California, 1 in Montana, 1 here, and 1 going out. So yeah, I mean, if it's out of Gateway, it's nice because I get to go home every night. But that's kind of
cool,
rare.
man. So this is something you realize I'm really curious. Okay, so you climb up. So what altitude you guys usually go to?
Depending on how close the fire is, how far it is. I mean, so our airplane, the MD, is limited to 21,000 feet because of the pod that we have, the external pod on the bottom.
Pod. Oh, for the fluid?
For the retardant.
Oh, got you. Okay.
And so sometimes, I mean, the fuel burn at 21,000 and the fuel burn at 17.5 really isn't that big of a deal.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
if we're going to have to get vectored around MOAs, military operating areas and stuff like that, we'll just go VFR direct at 17.5. But like, I mean, if the fire's close, we'll go at 7. Well, we usually try to get above 10 so we can go fast.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you go above 250 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
And sometimes, because we have a discrete squawk code on the tankers that we squawk, and sometimes if you ask, the center will delete speed restrictions
Oh,
below
nice.
10.
Well, it would make
What's
sense.
that squawk code?
1255 doesn't
Oh, I
matter.
didn't think you could answer that.
You could probably Google it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not like it's a 1255 for it. It's not every time you get a clearance thing. It's
Sorry, guys. I tried to bring you something cool.
but if you're
Just-
doing 1255 in the old Cherokee, they might give you a hard time.
Yeah. I'd be like, I got a fire extinguisher on board, bro.
But and they try to do priority handling and stuff like that if you can. But yeah, I mean, try to get above 10. But like just telegraph fire from Gateway. I mean, they're probably cruising there going that way, 5,500 feet.
They were probably there in like
Yeah.
3 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going
It's
to.
insane how close it is.
No reason to do this and then just do that.
So you never do any of the maneuvers in a sim? All that stuff you've done, it's all live. So there's no sim training for get your sucker in there. You're
They're
doing it.
They're doing more and more. Like the last time I went to the Delta, they were like, "Hey, we've done. How do you guys feel about your check ride?" And we're like, "You know how it is. If you do a type, you're dialed. You're ready for it. You know, you've done those maneuvers a million times."
Oh yeah.
So you're like, "We feel pretty good." He's like, "We got like an hour to kill, and your company paid for it. Is there anything you want to do?" And so we would kind of go run lines on ridges and stuff like that. But
Oh, okay.
you can't simulate it
Yeah.
really.
So hopefully I'm not moving us in a direction you were going to go later. But 2 questions. When you guys are doing the dump, what are your airspeeds like? And then how high are you above the ground?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So the airspeed that we drop at is 140 knots.
Oh,
So we're slowed down pretty good, and the minimum drop height that we're allowed to go per the Forest Service is 150 feet.
oh wow.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, it gets in there.
Holy shit.
That's a big ass. The first
I
time
wanted
you
to
saw
fly
that
my
in a
dad-
big
yeah.
plane, you just kind of like,
I remember my first drop from the right seat, and I was just like, you know, because it's hairy. And you do these water drops in the spring training, but like I said, we do like 3 of them, and we usually do them up high because you take the risk out of it, you know.
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, 150 feet, and that's depending on a lot of different things. You know, if you're going down into a steep canyon and you need to get out on the other
Yeah,
side,
I've
maybe
seen
you
some
might drop at
sketchy
200 or 250 feet. But the higher you are, the less effective the drop pattern is on the ground.
Right,
So you
right.
want to get pretty low, and you want to be around that 140 because the faster you are, the same thing.
What kind of effect do you get when all the load has been dispatched?
Like a CG thing, you mean?
Yeah, and just your airspeed, everything.
You can feel it, but I thought it would be more, but it's, you know, all the different tankers, they try to design the, you know, on the middle, on the center of gravity, so you're not getting all this crazy shifts and
Right,
stuff.
right.
So
Smart.
you feel it. The most thing, you feel the performance in the aircraft because you get rid of 27,000 pounds in a couple seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once you get rid of that, I mean, that thing is just a rocket ship. And so you really have to kind of pull back so you don't run into the air attack and stuff like that. But yeah, it's more of just like you just feel lighter, but there's not a big change in the aircraft really.
Awesome.
You mentioned like patterns. Like I was told, especially I think it was last year where they had a really bad fire, whatever it is.
Last year was terrible.
They weren't really like, you guys don't really, at times you're not really trying to throw the fluid on the fire. You're trying to pattern it so you can lock it in or block it in or something like
About 0% of the time.
that. Oh really?
So we do, and with fire retardant, we do something called indirect attack. And that is pretty much building fire line and trying to herd the fire. And really what we're doing is buying time for the guys on the ground to get in there because they're the ones that put the fire out. We just help them.
Ah, interesting.
So your helicopters and like your super scoopers, like the CL-415s that skim off the lakes,
yeah.
they do direct attack
They're the ones that-
directly on the flame.
Ah, okay.
So we just do mostly indirect all the
Okay.
time.
Trying to lock it in or create a. Okay.
Is it the same type of company that does
No.
the water? So okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Aeroflight, they have tankers that do both. But yeah, no, mostly the guys that do retardant. Most of the guys that do water.
Ah.
Gotcha. Are those independent contractors,
Mhm.
companies?
Yeah, everybody is.
Gotcha.
The only planes that in fire that the government uses are the lead planes. And
Oh.
they're government employees, and they're the ones that sometimes lead us into the fire.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Oh, the lead
Lear
planes?
jets or
Mhm.
whatever.
Well, they did jets for a while, but the fuel burn was just atrocious.
Yeah.
And so now they're using like King Air 200s.
Right on. Well, so do you do a lot of work here in Arizona? You said you're like if you're in Gateway Airport, what determines that that's where you're hanging out for that
So
shift? or-
last year, I mean, I flew a ton last year. We were all over the place. But I was in Arizona a good amount. And then, like this year, so the plane that I'm going on tomorrow was in Arizona for like 5 days. And then a new fire started in New Mexico. And then so someone decided to send them to New Mexico. So they were there for like a week and a half flying there. And then today they came back. So it's just how the people that are way higher than us in the food
Yeah.
chain do the.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
could go on the plane. Well, tomorrow's technically my travel day. So I could go on the plane on Friday and mid-afternoon we could be in Montana.
Gotcha. So do you basically get assigned a plane and that's what you're sticking with?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the captain, co-pilot, and then the crew chief, which is just the mechanic that travels with us, is on the same plane, and we'll be on the same plane for the contract period, and we'll go all over.
Where you headed tomorrow?
If the plane stays in Gateway, I'm not going anywhere because that's my travel day,
Ah,
and
nice.
I'll just drive into work on Friday.
Yeah.
But if it goes somewhere, then I'll go wherever it goes.
How do you travel to and from?
So if we're at living by Sky Harbor, most of the time we'll commercial if it's to a major hub. But if not, the company has like 3 Citation Mustangs that they
Oh, nice.
take the crew around in.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
What
Hey.
did you just say?
I don't get it all
Can
the time.
Can you repeat that real quick?
Yeah.
But if you go to for example, the airplane before it came here was in Silver City, New Mexico.
Okay.
There's no close major airports to that without driving a ton. So they would pick, they'd pick the other 2 crew members up on the way down, swoop me up at like Cutter, and then take me over there, and then they would take those
Gotcha.
guys home. But most of the time, I can airline because I'm so close to Sky Harbor, and
Yeah.
we go to somewhere that's a major hub.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And the company's out of Oregon, so I'm way out of the way.
Yeah.
It's got to be cool to fly in the Citation, though.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
Real quick, so if you were here last year, and so this is a long shot after hearing all that, but there was a. So you guys have an MD-11, right?
No, so DC-10 tanker
It is
a
a
completely
DC-10.
Yeah, it's a completely different company.
Okay.
Yeah, they're called 10 tanker. They operate, I think, 4 DC-10s.
Okay. So there was a brush fire off like the 202 and I say like probably rural Kyrene-ish. And that puppy was flying around and everybody was pulling over staring because they'd never seen a plane that size flying that
Oh,
low
really?
and slow and circling. And
Dude, it's massive.
A brush fire?
Yeah, like a
it was
wildfire.
pretty bad. I'm sure a couple of swipes and they were good to go. But
Oh.
yeah, I was driving down the highway and I was like, well, I'll be damned. And I have some pictures I might be able to send over to you, but they're
Well,
from my car, so they're not really good.
Well, it's fascinating because at times,
But real quick, you can see the lead plane.
So the DC-10s have to have a lead plane.
Okay, gotcha.
why is that?
Just how the Forest Service wrote up the contracts. So they're required to have a lead plane where all the other large air tankers don't have to. They're considered a VLAT, which is a very large air tanker.
Yeah.
So to put it in perspective, we can haul and drop 3,000 gallons. I think they're 9,500.
Wow.
So triple, over triple.
So what is the lead plane? So the lead plane, they're just following the lead plane. Is that what it is?
Yeah, if they're
Although-
depending on if they're available and if the fire requires it, sometimes the conditions can get pretty gnarly,
Yeah.
smoky
Yeah.
and bumpy, and you're down low level. And so really, what they're doing is kind of testing the air for you, and they're giving you
Okay.
direct feedback. Hey, you're going to get a riser here, it sinks here, and you're just following them. And then they have like a smoke generator, just like stunt planes do, and like air show planes. And when they'll say, hey, I want you to connect this line to this line, they'll just put out some smoke.
Oh shit.
But we don't always have those.
Yeah.
We can talk directly to the ground and go to work with them.
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
So does the cockpit get engulfed with smoke at times? You're like,
No, because we have to maintain VFR at all times.
I love the way you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're smart. You're gonna fit well with this podcast. That's funny. But I've seen them, especially when they know it's gonna get gnarly. Like they know like a real big fire is it's coming.
Yeah.
Like they'll go in and like drop a bunch of not retard, but
retard.
but drop a bunch of fluid on like houses just
Oh, yeah.
to help. Do you guys do that stuff as well?
Oh
or?
yeah,
Oh,
we
really?
do. That's called structure protection. I mean, that's like the last ditch effort, but we really try to get there before that. But sometimes, fire weather's nuts. I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
I've seen some. I can show you guys some pictures after of just. It looks creepy. I mean, it just engulfs stuff and it moves so fast. Starts creating its own weather and clouds and stuff.
Yeah, I was reading this this article and it's saying that obviously wildfires have destroyed like 89,000 structures and homes and business since 2005 to 2020, and they often like create their own like weather and all that shit you gotta deal with. So you gotta deal with like fucking fire weather. What the hell, dude?
It'll create these huge, we call them headers, just these huge headers. And then it's just like a thunderstorm. So once it gets to a point where it can't support itself, it'll dissipate. And that'll just have huge outflows. And like, it's,
oh, really?
It's crazy.
It's no good if you're 150 feet off the ground.
No. But also, I read that it's like, was it like 4 out of 5 fires are created by just some random dude going to drop my cigarette.
There's tons of, it's mostly human caused. Human caused. And a lot of it, you have people that go out there and start these. There's arsonists and they have
a piece of
they have a whole team on the Forest Service that investigates these fires to
Yeah.
make sure.
It's
And they catch
crazy how they find them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they find them as well
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of times.
Oh yeah.
It blows my mind.
But it's like
DNA probably. I don't know.
all sorts of stuff.
But anyways, yeah.
But I mean, I think 2 years ago, before last year, because last year was like the craziest fire season I've ever seen
Yeah.
in California. I mean, they had a 1 million acre fire.
Yeah, 5 is bad.
It was nuts. But I think 2 years before that, the largest fire in state history, it was like right around 500,000, over 500,000 acres. And it was just a rancher putting spikes in the ground to build a fence.
Oh,
And
spark?
one spark.
Oh shit.
God, that's insane.
Yeah,
So
man.
you have people dragging chains. And
But unfortunately, if it's a natural. If you want to think of it that way, I don't know. Based on what I watch when I watch fucking Netflix.
this is where I'm going to put my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, I mean, very interested to hear it. Like if you look at like Africa and all that stuff and all those places, like fires is like a natural form of life where it burns shit and then shit dies and stuff regrows and it's like a natural process. So it's almost as if there's nothing you can really do about it. What do you think about it? I'm curious about what you think about that.
So this is just my opinion.
Bring it in.
You're full of shit. Just kidding.
But so let's, for example, the Coconino National Forest, which is up by Flagstaff, Arizona. They
Yeah.
do a lot. If there's a lightning strike
Yeah.
and the fire's doing what it's supposed to do, they'll just manage it. So they'll let it burn and just manage it. Where we started fighting all these fires is when people started moving into these areas. And so they were
Right.
like, well, holy shit, I don't want my house to burn. Well, we
Right.
got to put that fire out. And so more and more area got consumed by that. So it's like, the fire's not really doing its job anymore. That's why you get these big mega fires.
Or is
Ah,
it?
yeah.
Or is it?
I mean, fire's good
Cleaning
for the
out the
environment.
humans.
Yeah.
It's good for the environment.
Oh, so you do agree with me?
Yeah.
Oh, very nice.
No, I
Good.
do.
I thought you were gonna rip me there for a second. Absolutely. Like if you watch, it's a natural process for
Science.
it's science, man. Yeah, it's all science.
No, it's good. It's good
Yeah.
for the forest, but a lot of states will have a rule: if it's human caused, you have to go full suppression.
Absolutely.
But we have tons of thunderstorms moving in right now, just monsoons, and they're going to start a lot of fires. And if they're manageable, some of them will go out and they'll hurt them a little bit. The guys on the ground will, but they'll let burn all the understory up and stuff because it's good.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't build up for 5-6 years, and then when you get a fire ripping through there, it just
Yeah, man.
cooks.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that.
Absolutely.
But there's just too many people. So you
yeah,
gotta,
I mean,
you
no,
got to save that
you have to,
dilapidated cabin down by the river. Okay.
Let
Yeah.
them burn.
Unfortunately. Well, cool, man. Yeah. So what is the switch? So where's the switch at for that fluid? And how does that work? I mean, hydraulics. It opens up the or is it just spray? What is it?
Yeah. So if you look at our airplane from the outside, it looks like just a normal airliner.
It
MD.
does.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Except for on the bottom, there's a pod, and that controls the doors where it comes out. But then if you walk up inside, it's gutted. So there's no seats in there.
Is there anything? If you look at the back, what is it? Is it completely sealed off?
Well, it's 2 big tanks,
Oh shit. Okay.
huge tanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Because 3,000 gallons doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. So
No,
two,
yeah.
2 big tanks in the back, and then a control unit and then up front. So depending on how much you want to drop is called like coverage levels.
Mm-hmm.
So like a coverage level 3, the line of retardant is going to go a lot further, but the density is going to be a lot less. So you'd use that like in a Texas grass fire or something where it's not ripping. Coverage level 8 is going to be a lot more density at once, but the line's going to be a lot shorter.
Gotcha.
You're going to use that in like ponderosa pines and stuff where the fuels are a lot thicker. So under the captain side, right under the control wheel, you have a little dial, and you dial up your coverage level, and that relays to the computer that controls the doors on the pod, and then up on the yoke, right where your like middle finger is, that's where the button is.
Oh, and the yoke. I got you.
Yeah. And so, when you press that, depending on what coverage level you set, that's how much the doors open or don't open, and that controls the coverage level.
Who's setting that?
So the guy on the ground, which is usually the incident commander, which is the IC, he'll tell us. We work for the guys on the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, we're really there just to support them.
The actual firefighters on the ground that are
the hot shots or the smoke jumpers, the helitack crews.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah.
And so they're going to tell us what coverage level they want, or they'll say, well, you have a better view of it. What coverage level do you think will work in this fuel? And then they let us make the decision, and then we'll say, okay, a 3 or 4 or an 8. You know, sometimes it's pretty obvious. If it's super heavy timber, you know, it's going to be coverage level 8 all day.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
when you're about to drop, like for example, descent checklist, you do a descent checklist.
Yeah, like just sent into the fire traffic area.
There's a checklist for it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. What about the drop checklist?
Well, I can tell you about it.
Interesting, man.
I have a feeling seatbelts are on there somewhere.
You know, the drop checklist is almost like a descent checklist, but the biggest thing is making sure that your tank's armed, because it's not armed all the time. So making sure that when you press the button,
the fluid, the door actually opens.
The stuff's going to come out.
Has that ever happened to people where they go down and like, oh, shit?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
that's something you don't want to talk about?
It's not a huge deal. I mean, sometimes you forget to arm the tank. But it's on the checklist, and it gets busy, and sometimes you show up to a fire and you're starting your orbit, and the guy's like, hey, we need to get right to work, or this retardant's going to blow line through this retardant. So you're like, all right, so you're just doing it. And you're like, shit, we got to the tank. And then that's when the co-pilot gets smacked, because he should have been looking over and seeing if the tank was armed.
Yeah.
But that's like the biggest one, arming the tank and making sure you have the right coverage level dialed. Because if you're going down into a hole and you're expecting to lose 27,000 pounds and you don't, you can put yourself into a precarious situation.
Yeah. Okay, so do you guys? So there's a speed you do the dump, and
140.
And then you're expecting another speed as you climb.
Yeah. So in the fire traffic area again, so the fire traffic area is set up like a class Delta kind of, but with kind of class Bravo-ish, with like a wedding cake kind of deal, but more horizontal. So it's set up at 12 miles and at 7 miles is the FTA from the origin of the fire. Now the TFR is different, obviously, because if the TFR is bigger than the FTA, you still have to get clearance into the TFR first.
Gotcha.
But the speed limit per the Forest Service is 160 in the FTA.
Max.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and then again, there could be 8 to 10 other air tankers in there orbiting with you.
Yeah.
So when you exit,
shit.
you don't want to climb above your assigned altitude, because there's probably an air attack up there 1,500 feet, and you want to keep the speed back.
Yeah.
So you're not even really cleaning it up right away. You might just go.
So you configure it.
You might have flaps 15 or slats
gear?
extended and gears up.
Oh, gears up. Okay.
Yeah, you're bringing the gear up, and then you're going, and you're kind of just chilling. Then once you get out of that 7, and we're watching our little map to see where all the traffic is. And once we get past that, we clean up and boom, and then we're 300 knots back to the base to get more retardant. But yeah, you got to be cognizant of that, because there's tons of traffic. I mean, if you look on ForeFlight, if you look at the TFR right now, it's probably just full of traffic.
And those are all tankers?
Tankers, helicopters, air attacks, lead planes,
Holy
scoopers.
shit.
I don't think I've ever seen anything
we don't-
on there.
Because we don't go in that area. We don't even attempt to go that area.
Shows up in.
Yeah, but like if I could show you on my phone right now, all the traffic.
I guess I turn the
internet traffic off probably.
Yeah, the far traffic. So have you ever had any of the idiots with the drones out there?
Not when I was flying Air Attack, we did.
Question.
When I was flying Air Attack, we actually, the Air Attack I was flying with saw it, and we were flying a fire out of Flagstaff, AZ, and we had to shut everything down.
I remember hearing. I'm not sure if the same time, but I remember hearing that you guys had to shut everything down.
Well, it pisses you off.
Oh man.
Especially if you're making good progress.
Did you hear that UAS pilots
Can we call
I'm
them?
sorry.
Can we
No.
call them pilots?
We cannot. I apologize. I
I was about to
apologize to the
say.
listeners. I
There you go.
apologize to my mom and my dad. UAS operators.
There we go.
Stay the
There
hell
you go. Yeah.
out of their way.
Well, yeah.
You know that
That's-
it would be. I don't
Stay the hell out of our way.
because it would probably be some really cool stuff that they captured on there, but it ruins a lot of shit.
Yeah, it's not helping.
No.
Fucks you guys up. Yeah.
But I think it's getting less and less after people have really started pushing it, trying to get the
It's good.
information out there. Like, hey, don't do this shit.
well, now you have to, recreationally, you have to have a license to get to the. I think they're getting to the point. I think we're there now.
Could we call it a license?
Oh gosh, you're gonna have to show him the card. He's gonna.
Unfortunately-
puke all over this place
unfortunately-
like
It's a normal pilot certificate, isn't it? I don't need to see it.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, it'll make it. He showed it to me yesterday. Or Sunday. I was pissed.
I earned mine, man.
They're
I
giving
was there when you
student
earned it.
pilots the same damn thing now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
man.
no, you gotta
Oh,
gotta
they're
get
giving
that
student pilots
first
the cool
check
one?
ride. Yes,
Oh, that's bull.
like
get
your
a
medical, it's
medical
completely different
paper.
now. Go ahead, Mark.
I mean,
You
I
get-
got a temporary when I just did my PIC type. I got a temporary.
it's bullshit. You get your medical
temporary
papers until
certificate.
you're a private pilot,
Say again?
but now you get a card.
That's bullshit.
It is absolute nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, because for us, because that's what
Sorry,
we're
guys,
we're
yeah.
used to. But
No
No,
offense
that's
to
how
the
it should be.
students. No offense to the students, because it's.
But,
we've
You
all
shouldn't
been
get
there
a
and
you
do it.
shouldn't get
but-
a card until you earn that thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the best feeling in the world.
Oh,
Because then they
absolutely.
give you the paper temporary
Mm-hmm.
certificate, and you're like, that's pretty damn cool. Picture. And then when you finally get that green card in the mail,
Oh yeah.
you did it.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah.
Not just, oh, I went and got my medical.
unfortunately, the FAA says we don't give a shit about what you guys think.
They should.
It says, the FAA says we're just going to start slashing and giving people things. That,
Were they trying to cut down on paper or something?
Yeah.
Well, it's probably
pay-
more
pay for
expensive.
plastic.
but yeah, now you get, when you go for your,
But the UAS ones, oh, God.
when you go for your medical,
Yeah.
because back in days your medical was behind your temporary, right? And
Yeah.
you're saying
Yeah.
now you're actually, once you get your medical, you're qualified. You get a student pilot certificate, which it looks like it's a student pilot and it's a certificate. And then your medical is just a medical by itself.
Yeah.
Your student pilot is not behind. Back then it was behind the medical.
Yeah. It was like
Yeah, I'm not sure what the change is and when that started. But
someone
I was
came up with a great idea. I don't know.
yeah. But apparently it pisses Mark off really bad.
Well, him too.
Yeah.
I'm not the only
I'm
one
on
in the
board.
room. Thank
I'm
you.
on board. I think it's bull.
He's on board. That's funny.
Now,
yeah.
I don't remember what your card looked like. Did it have Orbital and did it have the Wright brothers on the back?
It looks the exact same. I think.
It's pretty
I don't
darn
remember.
close, but I don't know.
But I can carry this because I got an ATP, so I can carry. I can flash this all
Well,
day.
yeah. I mean, that's gonna be the little bit of difference. At least mine says commercial
Wait. So is on your?
pilot.
Is it a separate certificate or?
So
Is
it
it,
doesn't look
Yeah.
exactly
Nah,
the same.
it doesn't have the Wright brothers
Okay.
on
okay. Good.
Well, that's a little better.
there. And it says it doesn't. Let's see what it says. It doesn't say. It doesn't. Yeah, remote pilot. Yeah, certificate number. Yeah, so they call you pilot on here.
They call.
Small unmanned aircraft system.
when
Yep.
I just did my CFI.
Recurrent.
Yeah. And I had to answer questions on that shit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, because now you can, like now, it was back in the days because to get this, I had to get a DPE to sign me off to get it.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a new thing now, man. It's money. That's really what it comes down
Yeah.
to. They can make more money. They can charge people more certificate. I paid them $100 for it to get them to sign it off.
Just to get the sign off.
Yeah.
I mean, people ask me all the time if that's going to be the way of fighting fire in the air is drones.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Like
Anytime soon.
they're asking if they're going to be using drones to fight fires.
Yeah, like instead of tankers.
What do you think?
I mean, not anytime soon. it'd
Very difficult.
Remote control DC-9s.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd have to have a drone that was big enough to carry that kind of retardant, and just, I don't know, it'd be tough.
Yeah. Who was asking? Like
I
just
get
random
asked-
people.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
People.
Do you
Gotcha.
guys use them? Well, probably not you. Does the Forestry Service or anything use them at all for surveillance?
Yeah, they'll do mapping, or they'll
Yeah.
go out and they'll do like at
Figured.
night when everything's down. They'll do like infrared of hotspots and stuff.
I mean, things like that completely make sense.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
a time and a place for them for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now those
Yeah.
are, and to be fair, those are really true operators, not the guys who go up and I'm gonna take a picture of this house in the
You gotta
beach.
stop hating, man. You gotta stop hating on these people. He ain't get you nowhere. Yeah.
Here's the thing though.
Yes, sir.
I
I'm
was
listening.
one of those people.
Was that
We had a commercial business. I worked as a commercial
Yes,
UAS
that is true. I agree.
operator,
That's true.
not a pilot. So this includes myself.
Yeah. We were operators. We weren't. Yeah. No, I agree. I get what you're saying. You know, I mean,
There's
I've
just
been.
a lot more work that comes with calling someone a pilot. And
Oh,
I think that's where most people kind of get rubbed the wrong
Yeah,
way.
I agree.
I mean, I agree. I don't even know what it takes to be an operator at this point for a drone.
A little more now than it used to. I'll give them that. I mean, you got to put in a little bit of reading.
Honestly, I don't know because the only reason I got it because I'm a pilot, so I was
Well,
able
we
to do
already
that
knew
quick.
So you know all the regs and stuff. Are you like airspace? You have to know any of that?
A
So
little bit.
if you're you don't need to do anything.
Yeah. But if you're just a Joe Schmo that just buys a drone,
you do. You need to know the to get the license certificate. That's
Okay.
really the big thing is the airspace. They
not
want- they
and
want
where
to
you
know.
cannot fly it.
Yeah.
That's
I-
good.
That's really
I
it is.
think we both took the test originally a few years ago in like 20 minutes.
Yeah. There's
Hey.
like
It's like a written.
no. So for pilots or actual certified pilots, you go to the FAA safety website and it's just like, hey,
Oh,
this is a drone. It's like a 2-minute little
yeah.
quicker, and you get a certificate that says you're completed, and then you give that to the DPE, and he says, okay, you're good.
Okay.
So you don't have to, for us pilots, we don't have to do anything. But for those guys, they got to go take a written. They actually take an actual
I
written.
guess that's good at least.
Yeah.
But they're still
Safety.
pilots.
It's really for.
I know, right? Until you sit through a fucking 4-hour oral, you're not a pilot.
Yeah.
It's really for. The real reason the FAA is doing it, other than money. But now I've always told people when an FAA gives you a certification, you're not getting more rights. You're
No.
losing rights.
Oh, absolutely.
So the FAA. So now when you're a drone, the FAA calls them a drone pilot. So if you go do something stupid, the FAA can go, okay, your ass
yeah.
is getting fined $150K, and
Yep.
you're spending 30 days in jail.
Yeah.
Because they have the right to do it.
Yeah.
Just like
Well, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I
Yeah.
guess I didn't really think about that.
yeah. Anyways, I don't really care. You guys, whatever. Dude.
We're past it.
Looks like he's not on the
Let's,
same team. Huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's talk about Australia and goddamn drone and shit. Because that was cool as hell. So did you fly the actual plane all the way across?
I did not. So I just showed up on an airliner over there. We had a cruise that took 2 of our planes over there. And since we're limited to 21,000 feet,
Holy shit! Yeah.
you can imagine the fuel burn's not the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so they took a long route there. I think they went Oregon to, let's see, where would they go from there? Alaska, Russia,
Yep.
Japan,
Yep. All across up there.
but maybe Papua New Guinea,
That's my normal route, by the way. That's what I do every freaking day.
Papua New Guinea, and then they went somewhere else. And then Cairns or Cairns, whatever it is, up in the northwestern corner of Australia, and then
Yeah.
flew them all the way down. And so I just showed up there on the airliner and then took
Okay.
over.
Would you fly on the airliner?
Let's see, I flew Qantas there,
Oh, okay.
and I think Qantas back too.
So what?
Business, economy.
Economy.
So what happened with
Find a new company.
I know, right?
So what happened with that with Australia? Do you
So
know?
we got there kind of late in the game, to be honest. So what happened with them was they were burning down. I mean, it was all over the news, right? It was terrible.
Yeah.
Did they
and-
say who started? Was it is it just random fire or
I think
something?
they had lightning bust go through
Okay.
there, and I mean they have monsoons like us, but it
It was
just
bad.
it was crazy.
A few guys got killed right doing that.
Yeah.
Was it? Oh, it wasn't the tanker pilots. It was just the regular firefighters.
No, there was a tanker crash there too.
Oh, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Killed 4.
What happened? You
Or
guys know
3.
what happened?
I don't know. It kind of got brushed under the rug, but
Really?
yeah, it wasn't our operator, and I'm not gonna.
Gotcha. Yeah,
we
that's
could
one of
talk
those-
about it over beers.
Gotcha. I understand. I get it, man.
Yeah, so they had all these fires going on, and they wouldn't call anybody other than Australian people for help. And they have a pretty small force for fighting fires because they don't get that many. I mean, they have a fire season, but it's not nearly like what they had.
Yeah.
So they got to a point where they were like, oh shit. And so they started calling people over from the US and Canada and stuff, but it was almost like too late. And so by the time we got there, most of the action kind of died down.
Oh, okay.
And so we were just kind of on standby, and I was in South Australia, which was Adelaide, like right by the beach, and yeah, we golfed every day.
I've been to Australia a few times. It's really nice, man.
I mean, I told my wife I was working really hard.
it's a,
Baby, it's a. I just need a nap.
But those guys there, the people there were so appreciative of us being there, and
Yeah.
everybody was really nice. And
Did you box any kangaroos?
no, but I ate one.
Yeah, you bastards.
really?
Yeah.
What does it taste like?
Good, yeah.
It's just like
Tough. Seems like it'd be
venison, Well, you have to cook it really rare,
Yeah,
and it's
okay.
just kind of like I don't know, deer or whatever, and
Oh shit.
kind of tastes a little gamey. But
Oh.
I had to try it.
Yeah, gotcha.
yeah. Over my years, I've acquired a taste for koala myself.
Well, they were
Koala.
Koala. Yeah.
You have?
Oh yeah. They have like a hint of eucalyptus. It's very soothing.
you
for
could have
the
got
throat.
There was about 3,000 of them charred up over
I
there.
know. That was so sad, actually.
You
Yeah, it was
guys, that's freaking Mark. That's
Oh,
funny.
I'm a sick dude.
I know.
But that was the start of a long fire season because we were over there in January, February. Most our contracts, some of them start in March, and it was off to the races here. So last year, last year was long for pilots, crews, management, dispatchers. Everybody was busy.
When is it usually? I mean, I don't know anything about it, but I feel like it's gonna be tough this year. I mean, it's so freaking hot.
Depends on if we get monsoons. So the last 2 years we haven't got any precip.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get precipitation, some real monsoons, around beginning of June, it'll be over here in Arizona.
Oh, okay.
But then the fire season just kind of moves north to the Montana areas where they're just getting into their summer.
Okay, got you.
So it kind of moves geographically with season.
with the season,
and
with
the temps and
with
stuff.
them,
Yeah.
yeah. Normally, you said it usually starts in June. So this May.
The real thick of fire season is usually like May, June, July, August
Yeah.
is like when you're going to get the most fires. California gets fires year round, especially in Southern California, all the time. And then all the time. And if you don't get any precipitation or anything, I mean, some of these fires get so big that you're not going to do anything. You got to wait for it to either snow or rain. You can
Holy
manage
shit.
them as much as you want, but when they get to that 500, 600, 300,000 acres,
Yeah.
you got to wait for some rain or some snow. So if
Uh,
it doesn't come, then it makes the fire season longer.
Shit. Kind of like Brazil. What was going on? You heard what's going on with Brazil?
Yeah.
You guys noted that? What happened with that? Did somebody start that, or it's
Yeah.
kind of odd? Somebody did start it.
Yeah.
Why?
Because the government wanted to, let me see if I can get this right. It could be a quick Google search.
Ah, that's fine. Yeah.
I think the government wanted to like tax the land or something that the farmers were using or
Another
doing
one.
something like that. So they just went out and lit it all on
I was
fire.
gonna burn that shit before I let you
Yeah.
tax it.
So
Holy
they just went out
moly.
and lit it all on fire. Like, screw you guys.
Wow. Interesting. You're talking about your schedule and your wife and so forth. So my schedule generally, I think I mentioned this before, a typical airline schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe 5 on, 3 off, so forth, whatever.
Yep.
So on a regular, you guys are not union, right?
No.
No union stuff. You don't bid for your schedule?
No.
Okay, so you just told you so do you like generally know what your schedule is going to be overall?
Generally.
Like,
Generally.
what is it usually looking like?
So in a typical fire season, we work, I would say, about half the year. That's not including like recurrent and stuff you have to do anyways,
Yeah.
just like you would for the airlines. But work 6 to 7 months out of the year, we're probably gone. During that
okay.
time,
Holy shit.
when we're on a normal contract period, our schedule is 3 weeks on, 1 week off. So we work 3 weeks, and then after a week, 3 weeks, we get to go home for a week.
Oh, wow. 3 weeks on, 1 week off?
Mm-hmm.
Consistently, you guys are...
For about 4 months.
Shit.
But there's a bonus to that.
You know, what is it? I want to hear it.
We get pretty much the whole winter off,
Oh.
without
Yeah.
having to do anything. Really,
That's a nice time of year too.
Yeah.
You guys get paid for that?
Mhm.
You guys still on a it's not like teachers who are like, oh, summer.
No.
Summer.
Something still could break out, right?
So we get paid a yearly salary that we are full, year round, so that we can be on, health and benefits and 401ks and stuff like that with the company. And then where we make most of our money is when we're out on contract. So we crank out those
okay.
4 or 5 months, and then usually around November or so we go home and we get 4 or 5 months off.
I'm not going to ask you how much you get paid, but I'll ask this. What's the highest you can get paid as a tanker pilot? If you want to, you ain't got to say it.
I don't. I'm just thinking because all companies are different.
Yeah. You want like an average or something.
Cal Fire, 250 to 3.
Oh, okay. Nice.
350.
You're good.
Cal Fire's up there, but 250, I would say.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I could be way off.
Yeah, I mean-
On the low end, I'm saying it could be higher.
Oh, that's on the low end.
Yeah.
Because it's a dangerous job. Is that what it is? Because it's dangerous and
I mean, government contracts pay good.
yeah, lucrative. Yeah.
I
know.
just think and
And this contract is not going away. I mean,
No.
it's not like it's.
COVID didn't affect
If
our
it
job
does,
at
you
all.
just
Yeah.
light a match. It'll
Oh,
come
my-
right back.
See, I don't know if I can see like right there. I don't know if I can put that on the podcast.
Why
You
not,
could.
dude? That was
Yeah.
funny.
If it was me saying it, then it might be different.
Yeah, yeah. You can't. I can't put that on the podcast.
Because there are ground firefighters that have done that.
Oh shit! Well,
To get work.
What?
okay. Well, if it actually happens, then yeah, I mean,
Because those guys don't get paid unless they're working. So if it's a slow year,
Oh my god.
it doesn't happen much anymore. But back in the day, it used to happen.
You
a
okay?
lot more.
You okay with me putting that on the podcast?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh shit! I want to put. I'm interested. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So like those guys are sitting on, like those firefighters are sitting around. They could probably get like a cap or like a minimum, but they don't get anything
I
else.
don't think. And again, I don't know as much as I do on that
Yeah.
side because I've never done it. But I'm pretty sure that most of them are just seasonal workers, so they're
Oh.
only working during the fire season when something starts.
It's okay. There's a disclaimer on this podcast. It says we don't know what we're saying, and
Yeah,
don't
'cause
take her. Yeah, we can say
I
you
could-
can say what you
I
want.
could get smacked and they'd be like, "That's not how it works." But I'm pretty sure. And
Yeah,
when I was doing the air tac thing, that's who I was flying with, ground guys. So they would tell me a lot of stuff. And
Yeah,
that's where
man.
I'm getting my information from.
yeah. Holy shit!
But
Yeah,
yeah, those guys. they
I
only
believe
get-
it. I mean, absolutely. I mean, someone's gonna pay the bills somewhere.
Yeah, but yeah, so 3 weeks on, 1 week off during the fire season. It can get long,
Yeah,
for sure, and that's what we were talking about earlier, kind of on the break. Is that I was fortunate enough to get married when I already had this job and schedule. So
Yeah.
that's all we knew together as a couple, which I think is a lot easier instead of meeting someone and you have like a 9 to 5 and then you go and do this job.
yeah.
You know,
I
but
agree.
yeah, you got to have. It takes a lot of communication. You got to have a strong woman at home for sure because she's doing everything for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
You know,
patience.
I mean that's only one more week gone than you are.
Yeah,
in a row,
absolutely.
you know,
Well, I mean, I'm a different beast, man. There's times like last year, there were times where I was gone for like 2-3 months at a time.
so I was the same before I got married.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the other job
Yeah.
too. I'm like, whatever. I'll work as much as I want or
Yeah.
as much as I can. You know.
And it's funny you're talking about references and whatnot. I was actually thinking about because right now I probably could. I was thinking about going in and grab a quick part-time 135 gig just to pay for my new Sirius jet, and then try and recommend you to be the SIC. And I was like, hey,
Wait.
I know a guy. So I was thinking about doing it just because I mean,
What are you
I'm
waiting for?
I'm off like sometimes I'm off like 2 weeks and
Go
like
back to flight instructing, bro.
No, that doesn't help me. Shut the hell up. I like this idea. I'm a little too messy right now.
I've considered like being like a checker, man, just to do checks, but not fucking teaching, man. I don't know about that. Like,
I know, but isn't to be a DPE isn't the process kind of a pain? Like you have to get recommended, and there has to be a certain amount per region, and
yeah. So I just contacted. So I'd missed the previous. You have to.
Yeah.
So it's probably the same thing with your job. You got to know somebody, and somebody
Mhm.
gonna bring you in and so forth. So I'd missed the previous meeting because I was out busy doing something. So I recontacted the DPE. He's probably gonna be one of our guests as well. He's
Oh,
a
cool.
DPE to talk. I was like, hey, I missed the last DPE, the last meeting, but I want to pursue it. And it's like, no problem. I'll resend you the information to the next meeting. We'll bring you in and we'll see what happens there.
yeah,
But I mean, it's a process. It's not an interview and
Yeah.
get a job. It's you gotta get in there. They gotta like you, kind of thing, man.
$500. How much is it now
Like
for a private?
a
pilot?
grand, some shit like that.
$800.
Yeah.
Is it
for an
really?
hour.
Oh, dude,
CFI is like $1,500.
dude, man, dude.
Mine was $5.
Yeah, I think back then, like in those years, that's what it was. Like your $550.
I
$800.
probably played about 900 or so for my multi-commercial, and
Yeah, I
probably,
agree.
probably around the same for an instrument.
Wow.
Inflation, is that what it is?
Demand
Yeah.
would be my guess.
Yeah,
I mean, those guys. I mean, if you do
that's a pretty cush gig, but you're probably capped on what you can do.
not anymore, the FAA just well, they opened it up because remember there were these regions. You have to stay within your regions or
Mhm.
whatever. Not anymore. So now you can go wherever you want
Yep.
and go freaking.
Yeah, but can't you only do a certain amount in a day? I would imagine.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, you can only fit so many
Probably,
in a
maybe
day.
You probably do like 2 flights and 3 orals probably in a day, maybe
It
max.
depends on how
Yeah.
crappy
You
the
gotta be-
student was.
And you gotta be careful with that. So if your FAA is seeing like fucking 6 or 6 flights a day,
Just
you
bankroll.
back it in, dude. They're probably gonna give you a call.
Yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
they have done.
And you
Yeah,
get
sure.
that one student that's like, oh, well, your private pilot check ride, the oral shouldn't take 7.5 hours.
Dude, when I was doing private pilot check rides, I could get the oral done in like 2 hours.
That's a good, that's a good time for a roll.
But
Yeah.
they had to go through all their stage checks anyways, so they passed at certain points, and you could tell if a guy knew or gal knew or shit or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would get them done pretty quick.
Yeah. Why mess with them? Some people, that's what they, But there were check or DPEs, like you heard about the guy. I think it was in California or it was something like that, Denver.
Yeah.
You heard about it? Like
a lot of pilots in question. And
well, they weren't. The question is, they had to go back and get all their retake all their freaking shit up to.
Oh, like
Horrible.
they was just signing people off
Yeah.
that weren't like they were shit.
Hey man, here's your. They didn't do any flights. You just
and
signed
they
them
were
off,
already,
whatever.
like, professional pilots, and they all had to go
Yeah, they were
back
like-
and like
They were like an
redo
airline and shit, dude.
man.
That's terrible.
And then they go back and redo all their freaking check rides.
They're like, oh, your 6-month recurrence coming up. Well, no, actually, you got to start over.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
terrible.
So yeah. You have any stories you want to talk about? Want to tell anything crazy that happened to you or?
Well, real quick, I have a question
Bring it
before
in.
we go into free stories. Something I think we wanted to ask. Or we didn't really touch on. So we know Part 91,
Mhm.
kind of private pilot, Cameron, who we had on last.
That was a big
121
mistake, by the way.
Airlines, 135 is like charter. What part does?
135.
I mean, I know you said it's 135 training.
135 was the air attack.
Oh, got you. Okay.
Yeah, so we operate Part 91 to
Okay.
and from, and then over the fire, we're Part 137,
Oh.
which is crop dusting.
Oh, there you go. That's interesting.
So that's how we can get below the 500 feet, all that stuff.
Interesting.
That's some loophole shit there.
Oh, you got to do
Yeah.
it. What are you going to do?
I agree.
We're literally
The law's the
doing
law.
we're doing what that,
You're dusting
FAR,
crops. They're
yeah.
just on fire.
and it doesn't say crop dusting in it. It's like disbursement of
That's
chemical
pretty good.
low level is really what the definition of it is. I believe. I mean, don't quote me
It does
again.
in crowds. It's just on fire. That's
But
pretty
it's disbursement of chemical or
Ah,
liquid
gotcha.
low level.
Interesting. So then if I went into the Cessna and I could operate under 137, right?
Mm-hmm.
Got that permit. I could pee out the plane.
You could.
Rich is like, damn it, now I got to cut something else out. Come on.
Just-
That was
whenever
funny,
he does shit
though.
like, it's just more work to do to the fucking
It was
post.
funny, though.
It's like, God damn it, I gotta edit this shit out now.
And I knew that before I said it. But I was like, come on, that's funny.
Be yourself, dude. I don't care what you say in this podcast, dude.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Man, just have fun, dude. That's what this is. You say what you want. Shit, you can come on here and bitch about your wife all day.
I don't even know what 137 was. I had to look it up
Yeah, I
Like
wouldn't.
when I got
wouldn't have
hired.
known.
because I was
I
curious
didn't know
too.
until now.
Because I mean, if you look at the 91 regs, it's it's one of the things where you can operate
With
below,
your
under 500 feet unless you're in like a sparsely populated
right.
area, and then it's
Yeah.
like all this stuff, and so we don't have to adhere to any of that stuff under 137. We can get as low as we want, but again, we're limited to the 150 by the Forest Service. But yeah, so it's 137 over the fire, and then to and from everywhere is 91.
Hmm.
So pretty chill.
Interesting.
awesome.
And if we go do if we get repositioned from Texas to, I don't know, Montana again. I keep bringing it up because I love Montana.
Montana. Yeah.
It's awesome.
Around by my house.
I love Montana, man. And the flying up there is just gorgeous. But we're Part 91, so we don't have dispatchers or anything that gives us weather and all that stuff. We
Do that stuff yourself.
yeah, we just look it all up. We do our own
Yeah.
flight planning with Flight. I mean, anybody can.
Nowadays, yeah.
We do. I mean, we've been rolling down the ramp, and they dispatched us somewhere that was like a lot farther than we thought we were going. And I filed a flight plan like while we're taxiing and pick it,
With the
with,
iPad.
with
just-
Flight. Yeah,
shit.
it's great.
Yeah, I use Flight a lot. I rent this Cirrus now at Scottsdale. One of these days, man, you should come up and.
It's too hot. You got to go up in
It's
the
too
Warrior with me. I rent a Warrior.
Oh, do you?
Out of Chandler.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. Because
we'll have
it was,
to talk about that later.
Okay.
because
Great
this,
airplane.
this was a story I wanted to mention with you and I. I actually wrote it down because it's so fucking fun.
Oh man, out of Chandler.
You remember this, dude? So him and I, we
I
went.
forgot about that. That's funny.
We went. It was right before our CFI, so we went to the Archer out of Chandler, and he was in the right seat. I was in the left seat, and whatever went up, and he was doing short approaches and
Because
touching.
you were like one of the only ones that actually used their private and went out and like could rent a plane. All of us just kind of kept on going.
Can I side note that?
Go
I
ahead.
remember that too.
What?
It was right after because we actually started private together.
Okay.
It's just I
Yeah.
kept running out of money and fell
yeah,
way
that'll
behind.
happen.
But we went up. Do you remember we were at that one school and they were completely pissed because we were doing our pre-flight and I was like, "Where's the airworthiness certificate?" and it wasn't anywhere to be found. And it has to be,
Yeah.
it's got to be there for everybody to see. And they were so pissed off when Richard went up and asked. They're like, "You damn flight students from UND, you always come over here."
Yeah.
You're like, I want to know where that is. It's important.
And that was also the first flight where I learned it's a lot different to try to land in the right seat.
I was
don't
fine in
know
the right
if you
seat, I think,
remember.
weren't
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
So, that was funny. So you were in the right seat doing short approaches, touch and go, whatever. So we came back, and I was like, "Dude, man, you're good in the right seat and whatever." And the lady's like, "Did you make him fly?"
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
dude, and him and I were like, look at each other and we're like, "No."
Because I wasn't checked out.
Yeah.
You're right.
And they're like, "No, we didn't let him fly." But this guy was up like doing short approaches and touch and goes and everything. Yeah.
That's
The
awesome.
flopping seats is it's not a big deal now, but even when I was sitting co-pilot for all that time and then went and did my captain upgrade, I was the muscle and where all the switches are, all the overhead panel, man, I was just all over the place.
Oh, dude, it's brutal. This airline I'm working with now, you're typed in the left seat,
Mm-hmm.
the 76.
Yeah.
And you do your PC. You do a PC right after in the right seat. So I did. The guy I was training with was already typed.
Yeah.
So I did everything in the left seat. He did everything in the right seat. So I did everything in the left seat, and then you're like, "Okay, you gotta do your PC tomorrow." So I get over the right seat, and then and it's like, you can't figure out how
yeah.
to. It's crazy how.
And your flows are all.
Oh,
because you're
man.
doing your flow. If you're in the right seat, you start it with your left hand or whatever.
Oh,
and then
dude,
you're
yeah.
Over there, it's all different.
I mean, I had to go around, even though you're flying, your
Yeah.
your view and everything. I mean, I had easy plane to fly, and I had to go around a few times because I couldn't just do flying with my right hand compared to or flying with my left hand compared to my right hand. I just couldn't. It was just so difficult.
Go around
know?
in the sim or with actual people on board.
No, in the sim, we
I'm
don't
gonna
do.
give you shit for that.
We don't do. No, we don't do.
They don't do go arounds.
Yeah, well, in the airlines, you go do a go around. You gotta. I mean, you're you can,
Yeah.
but if you do, you gotta explain it.
I think I've been on one airliner in my life that went around. It was going into Burbank, I think.
Yeah, if you go around,
I've been on a few where I feel like you should have.
Slam them in.
Oh, God. I've been
Yeah.
on a flight from Denver that was quite questionable.
all
For
right.
the last 10 miles, we were dropping. I feel like every few minutes we would drop 300 feet by wind shear. Just, and it's like, this isn't good.
What kind of plane was it?
I think it was like a 757 or something.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I fly with my wife, I'll be like, "Oh, we're gonna slam, boom!" Bouncing down the runway. I'll be like, "This is a greaser." She's like, "I don't know what a greaser is." I'm like that.
It was
right there.
that. That was the.
And then I'm
epitome
always
of
like,
landings.
it was the auto land,
Yeah. So those the aircraft auto lands, huh?
the MD.
MD.
Yeah, I mean ours aren't certified for it because there's a bunch of other stuff. that
Gotcha.
you-
Yeah.
But I wanted to see it done in the sim, and so we did an auto land.
I've
Yeah.
done it 3 times in real life.
Yeah, but we don't go down to what is it, Cat?
Cat 3.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah, you guys. I saw VFR. That's not even.
I mean, we still shoot approaches.
yeah,
I mean, if it gets super smoky and stuff, it'll
which makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, like airports will be socked in, and we'll have to we'll shoot approaches into it, or towards the end of the season when we have to take planes back up to Oregon and stuff, and it's in the winter. I mean, we'll shoot approaches, but yeah, not Cat 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has auto land. I think the planes, most of them we have are early 90s.
Oh,
Oh,
that's not
bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, the 760s are friggin' 80s.
Oh, the small little planes, we fly earlier than that.
Oh, yeah.
By like
The Commander
60 years.
The Commander I was flying for AirTac was a 75,
Oh,
1975.
We went flying the Cirrus, probably last year when there was a fire somewhere
Oh, that's
between,
right.
like just
We're heading to
above,
Sedona or whatever.
just south of Flagstaff, and somewhere in between there and Payson and Sedona. And we left out of Scottsdale, and we had to turn back because we were getting into instrument, like we couldn't keep going.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
of smoke.
yeah,
If we would have
Yeah.
kept going,
probably.
because we had to be high enough to clear some mountains, and
Yeah.
there was just so much smoke. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well, technically, I mean, IFR, it's what is it, 3 miles and
I don't know.
yeah, I know, dude. I
What do you
dude.
mean?
Absolutely, I get what you're saying, dude. Yeah.
Take that, instrument students.
Yeah.
3 miles for VFR.
So below that is considered
Well, you could
marginal, whatever it is, like
you
3
could-
miles.
1 mile is marginal. Clear
Okay.
clouds. You
Yeah.
have to be in controlled airspace, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
I don't know.
I know. You
We
got
don't-
1,000 feet, 3 miles. That is for a company. That's what it is. Considered, we can do visuals in my company. If
For
it's-
what is it? You can or cannot?
Cannot if it's below that.
Oh, yeah.
You need 1,000 feet and 3 miles minimum.
Yeah.
And that's all I care about. I don't give a shit anything
I know.
else.
I mean, it's so crazy once you get to that
Yeah.
level. if I had to give,
You don't do any of that shit.
I don't know if I could pass a private pilot check ride oral.
You're probably better than you think, believe it or not.
Well, we just saw how good my weather was.
No, I agree, man. I mean, I came back and I was flying to Sirius, dude, and I couldn't get it on the ground.
Oh, I got a funny story about that.
Yeah. Well, what happened?
First time I flew, I don't do too much GA flying until I started renting this plane now.
Yeah.
Now it's too hot. But I got hooked up with a buddy that had his buddy had a Cherokee out of Falcon, and he just needed someone to fly it with. He bought it, and he thought his family would want to go flying more than they did, and they didn't like it. So he was kind of flying by himself. So buddy I fly with was like, hey, you should go fly with this guy. So I went and flew with them. And we're cruising around. We go down to Marana. It's a hornet's nest down there, like it always is. Do a touch and go, come back into Falcon. And he's like, I flew it back, and he's like, you want to land this thing? I'm like, yeah, all right. So we're coming down in, man. I start flaring. And he's like, oh, my God. I was like 50 feet off the ground.
Dude.
Go around, go around.
That's me. Same thing.
And when I first started flying this Warrior, man, the guy was super cool. And he was like, he's like, oh, man, you do this. You have tons of experience. You'll be fine. I'm like, dude, wait
Yeah.
until we go fly.
That is such a typical story. I hear that all the time.
And I just wanted to do landings, man. Tons of landings in the thing until I got the sight picture. And then it was fine, but
Yeah.
completely different.
Like even now, when I'm flying in the Sirius, like I'm like talking to myself, keep going down, like talking to myself, get lower, because it's so hard for me.
Yeah.
You know, but I get it, man. But the Sirius has
So
an
we gotta
AC.
go fly. I want to go. I've never been in one.
It's really nice. It's
Yeah,
AC and everything. So as long as we go in the cool in the morning, turn the AC on, it's fine.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
We went the other night. It wasn't too
Yeah.
bad.
It's
AC,
really nice.
that's nice. That's good.
It's a nice plane, man. It's really sophisticated. It's not a
Oh yeah.
You get through the pre-flight, you're okay.
Yeah.
If they don't park it in the damn sun like they did last.
Well, if you go early in the morning, what time did we go last time? We went.
Oh, we went in the evening.
Yeah, that's why it was hot.
Late afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even wasn't.
But even when we were once we're in and they turn it on AC, I mean, you're comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not fucking hot.
No, that's not. We got to go up in that thing.
Yeah,
We'll take it
definitely.
back.
Yeah, man. We'll go out. Us three or whatever. We'll do some.
We got to do some golfing too.
That's what we're about to say. That you golf, right?
oh,
that's
we
all-
got to force them. We get Cameron back. And
Oh yeah. I love golfing with Cam because I can get in his head.
So that'll be good. It could be you, Cam, and a set of clubs. Me, you, and the archer that I take.
Yeah.
Set of clubs. And we're
Up to
good to go.
Sedona. We can fly up to Sedona.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
Do some golfing, whatever. Anyways, man. Yeah. So we cut it here. But if you want to tell any stories or whatever, let me know. You're more than welcome to come back on or whatever and talk.
Yeah. I don't really have too many over the fire stories. I just have a funny story about you guys will think's funny because you fly into Gateway all the time, and so I'm flying with this captain, and I'm fairly new in the MD. It's my second year into it, but I'm feeling pretty comfortable in it, and we're coming into Gateway, and I'm telling him all these different places and about how I, flew out of here, and I know all these landmarks, turn base here, even in the jet, all this stuff, and he's like, oh, it's kind of cool. And we're coming down on final, and it was the fucking hardest landing I've ever had in my entire life. In an airplane, I think. I think I broke it. And I was like, wow, I was just so embarrassed because I was just trying to talk about how cool I was and I know the area. And oh, man, I slammed it.
Oh
in.
man, that's
Doing
funny.
a gap arrival. There's the witch's hat.
Yeah,
But
that's funny.
yeah, that's my pretty funny story in the jet.
That's funny. That was in the tanker.
It was in the MD, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Cool, man. Easy plane to fly.
Oh, it's like it's really nice.
So easy. Yeah.
Mhm.
A lot of hand flying.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not landing at Gateway. Apparently.
Yeah, but it's a great airplane, especially for what we do. Lots of power and pretty maneuverable
Yeah.
for being a swept wing jet, and
Yeah.
get it nice and slow. But yeah, I'm glad I got that type. It's a fun type to have because not a lot of people are going to get them anymore.
Not anymore. Like I don't know
Yeah.
where. Like who else?
There's a lot of South American companies that operate them.
Oh really?
Yeah, like down in like the Brazils and Colombia and
If you go to
Venezuela.
I think if you go to New Mexico,
Mhm.
that's where American parks all their
Yeah.
aviators. You see tons of them over.
There's a
fucking
ton
Oh,
of
really?
Delta in San
Yeah.
Bernardino. Delta, there's a ton over there.
Yeah.
It was a good plane, man. That was my favorite as a kid. Was the DC-10.
Yeah, it's cool.
And it's almost always when you fly on those planes with the older American guys, because they're the older guys.
Mhm.
It was almost always a smooth, soft ass landing, guarantee.
Oh yeah,
Just slide that thing in because it's such. And I've jump seated on one. It's the jump seat is such a. You guys probably don't have a jump seat in yours.
Yeah, we do.
but You do?
That's where the crew chief sits.
Oh, okay, got
yeah,
you.
yeah.
It's like gear down, Flaps 1.
Yeah.
It's rudimentary.
Yeah, man.
The
It's old
trims.
school. No trim wheel.
Oh, never mind then.
No trim wheel.
What do you mean?
There's no trim wheel. That's what I mean.
How do you trim it?
It's all electric. That's it.
Oh, okay.
You have a primary and a secondary.
Very nice.
Without no trim wheel, so you can't trim with pressure. It's hard to grease a landing in the MD though.
Oh, really?
Just
I'm
those.
up
It
for
doesn't
it.
have the trailing gear or anything. It's just straight legs right into the wing.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, and like
Yeah.
when you're landing after after you go out and do a drop, you're so light, man. We're landing at sometimes under 100,000 pounds.
You want to explain? It's weird. Like, these planes are not designed to land light.
No, it's
Like-
way easier to land loaded.
Yeah. They're built to be land, with passengers or whatever,
Yeah.
load or whatever. So when even any jet really, I mean, even the 145, the 76, So when you're coming in, usually it's for some reason it just doesn't want to behave. He doesn't want to get on the ground, whatever it is.
And then if it does get on
Yeah.
the ground, you slam it in.
Bam!
You're like,
yeah.
what
the fuck?
it should be easier, but
Yeah.
no, if it's like, so if we take off with the loader retardant, it happens in California all the time, and we get canceled because the fire doesn't need us anymore, we'll come back and land loaded, and those are like the best landings.
Yeah.
It's easier. It's what it's supposed to be.
It's
landing.
designed. Yeah, exactly. Designed to be, with payload or whatever.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, it was nice having you.
Yeah,
you know,
fun.
We'll definitely have you back on. If you want to come back on every so often, and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
so like you don't give a shit about the airline or anything else because you're having so much fun. But I get it. Or anything else, Are you even curious about anything else? Like just what's going on in the industry? Or are you just I'm in my own fucking.
I have friends that do everything.
Oh, so I got you.
No, I'm
So
always
you know
curious.
about that shit, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not just like screw that. I don't care.
Yeah, because COVID's not gonna affect you. The economy's not gonna affect you.
No.
That's a good gig in this
It's fun.
industry. Yeah, that's what you want. It's something that is stable, not too volatile.
I get asked all the time, do you think you would ever want to do anything different? Like from either coworkers or friends and I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I really don't. I mean, it's a blast.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah,
I'll tell Brian I said hi.
I will.
The big guy.
yeah.
Tell him Mark's finally.
You can say Brian
He's actually on the plane I'm on
Oh,
that
is
I'm
he?
picking
Ah.
up.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
See if he remembers me.
I think he follows me on. Is he on Instagram?
Yeah.
I think he follows me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like he watches my shit. So
Yeah.
I'll give him some praise. I never had any issues with him.
No, he was. I wasn't a student. He was just my check airman on everything. Because
gotcha.
Cam did all my stuff,
Yeah,
and I thought he was hard, but he was fair.
I never
Yeah.
said I had an issue with him.
got you.
He's a good guy, and totally respect him as a pilot. And yes, he is fair. And
he's
I used to laugh at him because I had him for a ground school course too, and I used to laugh when someone would say something stupid in ground school, and he would just go at him, and I'd be like rubbing my hands like, go get him, bitch.
Well, Brian would go at the student.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
it was
Brian,
so
yeah, he
funny
doesn't fuck
because
around.
he's kind of like me. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't hold back. He'll
And
say
doesn't,
what he's
man.
thinking. I
And
love
Cam
it.
would have been like, "Well, that wasn't the right answer, but look, where do you think we can find it?"
that's definitely yeah, man, that's funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. I think we had him for private pilot ground.
Who, Brian?
Yeah.
Mm.
And do you remember that guy? He was a really crappy. And you can cut this all out, but he was a really he was a young guy. He was stupid as shit, and he didn't make it through our private course. And Brian asked him in ground school, "Can you name me one of the hazardous attitudes?" And he just gave out. He was like, 3,000 feet. And Brian, the look on his face was like,
He probably almost blew a
he was
gasket.
just like, I'll fucking kill you. Get the hell out of here.
That's fucking funny, dude.
I think that guy was around for like 3 weeks more, maybe, and he was out.
That's funny.
What do you do is pretty cool, man. Honestly, it's a few things I consider to be cool, in life. Being an architect, being a tanker pilot, shit like that's pretty cool. It's up there with it. It's good stuff, man.
Appreciate it.
Come back with Cameron. We'll have fun. And you got anything you want to say? The no whack.
I do. Make sure if you guys are listening and you're enjoying this, make sure you click like, all right?
I like it.
Reply, comment. Let us know what you want to hear about. And most certainly subscribe. Keep the fuel in our tanks.
Absolutely.
Yes. Keep us going. And we're going to have more guests on. And we'll have Andrew back. And some exciting more discussion. Maybe some exciting experiences.
Maybe.
All right, we're done. We're moving out. We're out.